Hello, everybody. This is meteorologist Hutch Johnson joining you on my YouTube channel here. We're going to check in on our multiple situations across the nation. The storm system is bringing severe weather to the Central Plains right now. Tornado watches, active tornado warnings, thunderstorm watches as the risk spreads all the way down into Oklahoma tonight and again tomorrow. Many in the same areas could see active weather, while a snowstorm that will last into the better part of Friday and for some all the way into Saturday morning, where you see the red counties in the central Rockies of Colorado all the way up to Wyoming. That is a winter storm that is just getting started. We're going to get started with a quick look right now at this radar a little closer in detail. So to do that, I want to pop up the active most recent radar imagery for the Topeka, Kansas area, as well as that area there is seeing an active tornado warning, two of them as a matter of fact. So here's the latest radar data. I'll go ahead and turn off some of this ancillary data. The Storm Prediction Center had this area targeted as an enhanced risk for severe weather. Tornado watches in effect for the area as well. And indeed, the latest radar does show that we have the risk coming to fruition. Active tornado warnings near St. Mary's right now. These are some potent storms. And let's check in on this McFarland and St. Mary's storm warning from the National Weather Service. Radar indicated tornado warning for the St. Mary's area. Look at that. Monster hail, almost 3 inches in diameter, the potential for hail with this particular storm. So as we take a dive into this one, certainly this storm is capable of some stout activity. I want to point out this little feature right here on the south side of the storm right there. That could very well be a debris ball. It definitely is a hook echo in this area. It has that fish hook shape to it, that little dangling phalange, if you will. And as a meteorologist, we watch for signatures like this on the radar. It does not necessarily mean that we have a tornado exactly on the ground right now. Hey, Kim, good to have you on watching from trail. If you are logging on and watching, let me know where you're watching from. And if you have a question or whatnot, I'll try to get to that. This active tornado warning looks like there could be a debris ball in this particular vicinity right now. So what I'm going to do is pull up the velocity data and take a quick look at the storm relative velocity. And in the same area that we saw that little debris ball, which is right here, we have greens next to reds. Greens meaning motion toward the radar, red mean motion away. So right at the interface of the reds next to the greens here, that's where the tight rotation lies. It's near Maple Hill right now, between Maple Hill and Rossville, I should say, as we'll go ahead and scan this back and forth so we can take a peek at where this system is and where it's moving. That storm, that rotating storm, is over Maple Hill now, and it's working its way directly toward Rossville at this particular time. And as we take a look at the National Weather Service's warning for this particular storm, it'll give us a little bit of an indication of its last movement across the area. Moving northeast at only 15 miles per hour. This storm system, we can go ahead and time then for you when the rotation will get to the next location. So let's go ahead and do that as we pull up the radar data, and I will measure this out. 15 miles per hour. It's moving generally in this direction to the north and northeast. This will put it in these, well, let's see here. Pardon me while I get the right tool out. So right over Rossville, heading towards Grove and on towards Hoyt. And it's moving at 15 miles per hour. I'm going to put it at closer to 20 because, and the reason I do that is there's a delay when the data gets to me and when it gets back to you. So we'll get you the times the best that we can. It does look like Hoyt about an hour out and Rossville within about 6 minutes. So we do have some active weather. It's moving right over these towns. If you're in the path of these storms, make sure you're seeking shelter. Get to that interior room with as many walls between you and the storm as possible, on the lowest floor possible as well, as we head into the evening hour. Let me take a look and see if there's any details with regards to storm reports from these systems as we head into the evening hours here. All right, we'll turn on the tornado reports. Here we go. So as of this evening, a look at some of the storm reports from these. And the good news is it might take them a second to populate those. So we'll give that time. In the meantime, we're going to check in on this storm that's moving through toward the Alma area. It is right over McFarland now. The good news is some of the spin with this storm looks like it's lifting out towards McFarland now, and it looks like it's a little less organized. maybe not though, because it's right over the radar, right? So if you look at where the greens and reds were moments ago, let me go ahead and just stop the pause. Back here near the Alta Vista areas where this puppy started out, way down there in the lower left-hand corner of your screen, and advancing through time, that's moved right over the Alma area and is continuing its track towards McFarland right now. 2-inch diameter hail from this storm, and it's a radar indicated tornado moving northeast at 20 miles per hour. So an active weather situation is taking place now in areas just off to the west of Topeka and Kansas City. Kansas City in the midst of some active severe thunderstorm warnings right now as we take a look at the reflectivity data. Look at the hail potential from these storms moving through Gladstone, also through Oakwood Park, and also through the Pleasant Valley area. Mainly that pink area there would be where that risk of the large hail is. The hail estimates from this particular cell here, let me see. Upwards of 3 inches in diameter possible from this cell, as you could see from the National Weather Service severe thunderstorm warning. A couple different warnings in this identical area right here where you see these orange boxes. So the majority of Kansas City see it. Now the storms are out of the western suburbs here. So for Muncie, things are done with this particular storm. Moving off to the north and to the east, there is a tornado watch in this area. And as I'm looking at the storm here, not far from Randolph and the Birmingham area here, I'm seeing this little notch in the storm. And also that extends all the way back. It leans back as we go towards Riverside. So let me take a look at the velocities in this storm as well. And we'll see that indeed we do have some velocity where we have reds next to greens. Now the radar location showing that the ones we're concerned about out here near Independence are on the inflow side of this storm. Right here. So we've got the greens next to the reds. That's right near the Leeds area, heading in towards Independence and Randolph. So as we loop this, you can see that particular feature where the greens and reds are getting more organized there as we head through the last couple of scans. Moving off toward the Independence area. So moving off to the northeast, 20 miles per hour, most of Kansas City. From I-70 and points north, we have the concern for some very large hail, upwards of, well, baseball size and bigger in some spots out there. That's some serious hail. Teresa from Crookston, good to have you on board as well. So active weather working its way through Kansas City as we take a look at the this is the velocity data. Let me get the resolution back on the reflectivity data. So we still have that notch, that echo region that's bare. You see the greens there right over the Brooklyn area. This is what we would call what looks like a hook echo. And that area of the storm could be the inflow part where there may be some rotation with that storm. So very huge hail heading through Pleasant Valley right now. It's moving up towards Liberty and it's moving at 20 miles per hour. So let's time the hail core out for you folks in parts of the metro area to the north and on the east side. And again, it's moving at 20. I'm going to put 24 on here because there's a little delay. And when you get this data, when I get the data, so I always speed it up just a little bit to try to be as accurate as possible. Pleasant Valley, it should be there within 10 minutes from right now. Right now is 8:30 p.m. Central Time, Central Daylight Time, that is. Liberty within about 19 minutes, it should be near you. And Kearney near around 35 minutes if the hail core holds together. That's a mean looking storm right there. And indeed, the potential from that one is extreme. Jessica, thank you very much. Love the channel. I really love the reports. I'm going to go ahead and heart that right now. Drop a line. Let me know where you're watching from, Jessica. It's a pleasure to have you on board. If you are in Kansas City, you're under a tornado watch. All of these yellow counties that you see in this area are in a tornado watch. Let me put the specifics up on that watch for you. It does not include Hutch's first television broadcast market that was full-time. Kirksville, Missouri, KTVO country out there. Hutch Johnson was working out there many, many moons ago. Been a broadcaster doing broadcast meteorologist as a chief meteorologist in North Dakota for the better part of 27 years, broadcasting for nearly 30, teaching in the college classroom, introductory meteorology classes to students in North Dakota for the better part of 20 years, as well as some research meteorology. So those a little bit about my background there. And again, this tornado watch, as I put up the specifics on it, is in effect basically for parts of Eastern County and northernmost Missouri until 1 a.m. Central Daylight Time. So it's in effect for quite a while yet. Scattered large hail to very large hail. Now the text in this said 2.5 inches in diameter, but the upsidence or the upflow in these storms incredibly strong. And the storm warnings that we see here over Kansas City now are estimating that risk of tornado hail to be upwards of 3 inches in diameter. So, oops, I got to turn that tool off before I can move the map around. Pardon me while I get used to my gear. Now, we do have another severe thunderstorm warning up here, not far from St. Joe's. So if you're in DeKalb right now, 1-inch diameter hail from that storm on the north side. One of the features to think about here is any of the storms that are on the south side here will have the best chance for that undisturbed, warm, humid inflow of air. And it's that fuel in the lower levels of the atmosphere that these storms are tapping into to create the enormous and very energetic updrafts capable of supporting 3-inch diameter hail. If you want to think about how fast the winds have to be to support 3-inch diameter hail, take a softball and hold it up over your face and try blowing straight up and try to support the weight of that softball with your breath. Blow hard. It's not going to happen, right? So the updrafts inside these storms are exceeding 80 and 100 miles per hour to support hail that is that large. Nathan, good to have you on board as well. Thanks for watching from the Fargo-Moorhead area. Now, in St. Louis, you folks have been in a severe thunderstorm watch, and now we have an active severe thunderstorm warning. There's a radar that's been out of commission out in the St. Louis area today, but if you are in the Edwardsville area, there is a warned storm for this puppy here for 1-inch diameter hail. The greatest risk of hail and the greatest risk of pounding activity right now moving through parts of the Kansas City metro area here. 2 active severe thunderstorm warnings for 2 storms that are moving through. On the south side near Independence, there was some indication of some weak disorganized rotation in that area. Let me put the latest radar scan up there for you so you can see that. Let's use this Pleasant Hill site down here. Oops, I'll have to pull that up just a little bit. And we'll get back to this. So Blue Springs, we got a new cell starting to fire up just north of you. A lot of lightning going up with that. Again, it's this area near Independence and North. I'm going to circle it. Well, we got this inflow of moisture right here, and there's this notch taken out of the storm. So the potential for some spin would be on that part of the storm indeed. So that's what we'll be watching for as we head through the evening hours. We'll continue to monitor these storms very closely for that. I will take another look at the relative velocity on this, and yes, indeed, we're seeing some weak spin or shear with the storm. It is not really strong, but that doesn't mean that this storm won't be capable of it. It's in an environment with some spin. So that storm on this south side near Independence, where I've been talking about Leeds, that area there, right on the 435 and 70 exchange, is where that rotation is showing up right now. But the hail threat, can you imagine the damage that could be done with 3-inch hail moving over a huge metropolitan area? Kansas City, all the way up towards Liberty right now. That's where the reflectivity is pink. In Liberty, the hail core is moving towards you right now at a speed of about 15 miles per hour. So it's a slow mover, and it's probably going to dump a lot of hail. And the rainfall rates from this system are going to be pretty big too. Let's take a look at that as we look at the precipitation total. Let me see if I have access to the rainfall rate. I don't. Let's go ahead and look at the 1-hour precip total from the storm, estimated by the Doppler radar. So if you are in central Kansas City, right at the intersection of 29 and 35 there, as we go towards 635 on the north side, that's 3 inches of rain in no time at all. So in the last hour, 2 to 3 inches of rain dumping down. Hail cores can and do impact rainfall estimates, by the way, but that's a lot of water. So some urban flooding is likely going to be a problem in the Kansas City metro area. Tornado warning update for you folks out near the Topeka area, between Topeka and Manhattan right now. 2 active tornado warnings are in effect for these areas. So we'll go to the radar outside of the area here and get in just a little bit closer. Not interested in the rainfall rates with these systems right at the moment. We'll take a look at the velocities and the spin within these storms. Where we see the reds and the greens immediately next to each other is where we're concerned about the possibility for some tight spin. At last check, these were radar indicated tornadoes. Let me get the latest from the National Weather Service on this. Again, the top line here says that we're talking about, let me get the time stamp up on the top of the screen for you here. There you go. So it's radar indicated is the tornado warning, and 2-inch diameter hail from this puppy. It's moving right into Maple Hill. Let's get the velocity product off and turn the intensity on. So the reflectivity of the storm showing the hail core north of McFarland, basically passing north of I-70 right now. So if you are in the Wabansie area on towards St. Mary's, where there's a hail core over you and a rotating thunderstorm, this section of the storm here looks like it could possibly be a debris ball. It looks like the after effects of a hook echo and the spin carrying the debris up into the storm, and the radar picks it up right here. So if we take a look at this particular tornado warning from the National Weather Service, let's see if this one is still it's an observed tornado. So indeed, this tornado is on the ground. Rossville is right where it's at. It's just right here. I can circle it with the old pencil. Let me get a white color here so it stands out just a little better. And in fact, I'll make the pencil just a little bit larger there. This area here is where the tornado most likely is. This section here where we have the oranges and reds would be a debris ball. It can also be a rain-wrapped tornado now that you're not going to be able to see. So you need to seek shelter in that interior room, stay away from windows. So if you have folks that you're watching this and you know that are in the Kansas City area and off into parts of Kansas, out near the Topeka area and Manhattan, active tornado watch and active tornadoes right now, and an observed tornado is on the ground at this time. I'm going to make sure that I have my storm reports all turned on, and let's go with in the last 12 hours or so. Let's turn those puppies on. Okay, here we go. So these are active tornadoes that there's one on the ground. Oh, it was reported right here, right in the Rossville area. And we were just talking about that debris ball right there. And the report time was 8:33. So just 5 minutes ago, Shawnee County reported by the emergency manager. The public reports that there is a tornado on the ground, 62nd and Valencia near Rossville. And that storm system moving in the general direction of the northeast. And it's only moving, I believe, last look, it was a clip of only 15 miles per hour. Now it's up to 20. Let me get you the latest estimate on when it's going to be and where it's going to be. Here's the tornado. It's right near Rossville, rather. And as we time it out here we go. Here's the storm moving northeast, 20 miles per hour. I always put a little bit faster because there's a delay in broadcasting, right? So here we go. Calculate the towns, and it's really going to stay in rural parts, but it would be on the general direction of Highway 75 towards the Mayetta area in about 40 minutes or so. So if you're in rural portions of the county here, north and east of Rossville, north of Grove, this tornado is going to be making its way in your general direction. And this one is moving on northwest 86th Street out there. Now, if you're in Delia, if you are in St. Mary's, the risk from this particular storm is just now exiting your area. You're in the tornado warning, but the rotating part of the storm over Rossville and moving out. Now let's take a look at the velocity. A new tornado warning just issued by the National Weather Service for this storm. I'll get the latest. Observed tornado 2 3/4 inch diameter. Hail is expected from this storm. Let's see if they've updated the speed of movement so that we can keep an eye on that. Sometimes they accelerate. Still moving northeast, 20 miles per hour. Baseball-sized hail, as I mentioned. These storms are very stout, very strong, a lot of updraft. So the hail threat is moving towards Delia. If you're in Delia, prepare now. Get the vehicle in the garage and make sure that you're preparing for that. That hail has moved through the St. Mary's area as well. Now, the storm that's down here, we have 4. Are you kidding me? 4-inch diameter hail? Let's look at this. Yes, 4-inch hail reported. This was in Alma, Kansas, 2 miles to the west-southwest, reported by law enforcement. Folks, that's softball-sized hail out there. You do not want to be out there getting your practice swings in. These are very dangerous storms out there and have a history of tornado reports. So these particular storms have dropped tornadoes here, one near the Alta Vista area. We were talking about that a little bit ago, and now it's on moving to the north and east. This was reported at about 7:50 by the fire department out there, and then as the storm made its way toward the communities there, law enforcement reported a tornado on the ground 4 miles southwest of the Alma area. Now, this storm system moving toward Manhattan here. Let's take a close look at this. Manhattan, you are in the area of the storm that would be most likely to get this hail core moving in, right? So you got the pink hail core moving to the north and east. Ashland Bottoms heading right into Manhattan at KSU. So all of you rock chalkers out there, if I'm not mistaken, you guys are going to be wanting to seek shelter and be prepared for some very serious size hail making its way into your area. The National Weather Service warning, let's see what they're estimating with this storm, is 1 3/4 inch diameter hail. Now, take a look at this with me now. As a meteorologist, we watch for these little hooks. See that hook right there? See this little area right here? These areas are on the inflow side of the storm where the warm, moist air is fueling this storm. And that is where we also have it mingling with outflow from the hail core as it moves out. Those are prime areas to see vortices tilted toward the ground. And let's look at the velocity on the radar with this particular storm as it's moving right into the region of Manhattan. It looks like the rotating part of this storm, if it is indeed rotating, we'll take a look. Storm relative velocity is showing that we do have some evidence of some rotation in that storm right here, where we have the reds and the greens next to each other. It is not super organized here, but there is some evidence of some reds and greens next to each other, and that would be right in the same area that we were highlighting if we take a look at that. Just south of I-70, south of Ogden, moving toward the Zinedale area. So that's the rotating part of the storm. That's the part we're watching very closely. And if you were a storm chaser, they would likely be on the south side to get that good view. Not a good idea to run outside, because if you are in the path of this particular storm in the Manhattan area, all you're going to see from this storm system is going to be the very heavy rain and hail. You will not see this part. It's starting to look more defined here to Hutch me. That this little appendage down here, that very well could be rotating and capable of a tornado. So if you are in the Ashland Bottoms area or on the I-70 corridor here, looks like it's the Truman Eisenhower Presidential Highway out there as it crosses Highway 171. That looks to be the prime area for this storm to move right over, right in this area. And that's the rotating part of the storm. Heading in that general direction of Zinedale, the storm is moving northeast at about 20 miles per hour. So the rotating part of the storm, if you will, moving in this general direction, I'm going to pump the speed up to 24 like I've been doing for the same reasons I've been talking about. And we're talking about within about 35 minutes or so being in the Zinedale area. So mainly over rural parts, very close to Manhattan, Kansas, is this rotating thunderstorm right now. And we also have active tornado warnings with tornadoes on the ground moving through the Roseville area at this particular time as well. Let's get down to those, show you the latest on this particular rotating storm with a confirmed tornado. Let's see this area right here where we're just off to the east of Delilah. I'll measure this. So the rotating part of the storm is really only about 3 to 4 miles away from you in Delilah. You should be seeking shelter, although you're likely getting the hail core. If you are in Grove, you are in the rotating part of this particular storm, and it's moving northeast, and it's moving at 20 miles per hour towards Mayetta. So seek shelter if you're in rural parts of the county here in this zone right here where the bite is taken out of the storm. You see all the red? It's getting wrapped around. So there's a very, very evident area of rotation in this particular storm. And there was moments ago a tornado reported on the ground near Rossville from this storm. Again, seeking shelter in a sturdy building, getting out of things like manufactured homes, mobile homes. You want to get into a more sturdy building and get to the lowest floor possible. Put as many windows between you and the storm, put as many walls between you and the storm, staying away from those windows as the storm moves through. Okay, so here we got the latest scan just in. Still have the evidence of that just north of Grove is where that rotation is. There's another little evident rotation not far from Grove on the display here. Let's take a look at base velocity with this time. So here we go. We got greens next to reds, and if we look at where the radar is here, here is the rotation right here. This is it. Okay, so that is the tornado, the radar indicated tornado. And as the crow flies, let's measure its location from Grove. So if we measure that distance, make sure I'm getting the right tool. We're looking at only 3 miles from Grove. Let's go ahead and put the motion on that storm there. And here it is moving northeast. It's moving at about 20 miles per hour. It's going to skirt Grove. You're likely going to see some wind from this storm and damage if you're going to be anywhere near Grove or to the north and to the immediate west of Grove. That's where the track of this storm is going to be rolling through. Seek shelter, stay away from windows, and generally it's in the rural parts of the county, but it's going to be skirting close to Grove. Calculating some towns in the path of the storm, it's all rural and no towns showing up, but it's really close to Grove by about 3.5 miles. Baseball to softball sized hail potential from this storm as well. Incredible amounts of hail from the storm are possible. Okay, so that's a look at these storms as the tornado threat is aplenty across the populated area of Kansas City. We have numerous hail reports in and around the Kansas City area as that storm moved from Lawrence and into the Linwood area where that formed. 1-inch hail reported in these little yellow triangles with ones. The diamonds that say 2, 3, 4-inch diameter hail has been reported tonight in areas just outside of the Wilder area. 2.7 and 3-inch diameter hail was reported in those areas. Incredible hail size. Now, as we look at the velocity, I'm going to get to a different radar here so we can have a better look into these storms here. Pardon me while I try to select the radar. Here we go. So now we're looking at velocity, and yes, can you see where the spin and rotation is? Right over the Birmingham area. This is not a tornado warned storm, but if we look at the warning for the area, we'll see if what their text says. So Clinton County in the southeast side, Clay County in the west central part of Missouri, southwestern Ray, and northeastern Jackson until 9:30. Moving northeast at a 35-mile-per-hour clip, tennis ball-sized hail, 60-mile-per-hour gusts. Everything is radar indicated at this time. So essentially, this is a very dangerous storm moving through an environment where there is some shear, and the storm itself is showing some signs of some shear right over the Birmingham area, right over Pleasant Valley right now. A lot of eyeballs in the area, but we want you seeking shelter. Let's take a look at the reflectivity in Kansas City, because what a huge storm with a lot of hail. The good news is some of the reflectivity amounts have dwindled a little bit over the last 10, 20 minutes. Thank you very much, Rebecca, for watching. Paul, good to have you on from Montana as well. Thank you for joining Hutch on Hutch's Weather here. Checking in on this Sibley area here, there's an intense echo with that particular storm that is also warned for in this same general vicinity. So, severe thunderstorms rolling through Kansas City. Tornadoes on the ground just north of the Topeka area. These storms are going to miss Topeka, moving to the north and east. They're heading towards Falls City, Nebraska. Been there. A lot of strong storms in the Pawnee City area heading in your way. But I got to say this, the storms with all of the energy and all of the fresh inflow of moisture are on the south side. So the Kansas City storm, the ones on the I-70 corridor, you get north of those, much of the energy in the form of warm, humid air is being taken up by these storms just to your south. They're still strong, they're still warned, and they're in a rotating environment. Don't get me wrong. There is a risk of some severe weather in these areas tonight. And in fact, the storm moving toward the Axtell area is indeed severe, with the possibility of producing 1 3/4 inch diameter hail as it moves to the north and east. All right, let's check in on our friends in Colorado. There's a heck of a snowstorm that is developing right now. I'm going to pull up another radar view here real quickly as we rock into this time frame. And let's show you what we have going on here. Let me turn this off and let me turn on the winter mosaic radar. So we have the snowstorm that is really just starting to take shape as the low pressure center works its way across the Rockies. And I'm going to draw this out here. Well, let's get a big pencil. And we'll put a L up here in red because that's what color meteorologists like to draw low. Once the low pressure system really gets established here in the plains, it's going to sit here for a while. And what it's going to do, it's going to grab this hot, humid air and it's going to roll it up the slopes of the Rocky Mountain and the terrain. And Denver, All of the Front Range will stand the risk of seeing enormous amounts of snow. Last night, Colorado Springs was not in the warning. Today, Colorado Springs is, and it's all because of the position of where this low is setting up. So if this low was to set up a little bit farther to the north, Colorado Springs would be out of it. You got that mountain range called the Palmer Divide between Denver and Colorado Springs that would protect you from the upslope flow there. That's not the case. You are in the mix. And the National Weather Service has put out some pretty lofty snowfall total warnings, as we were showing you earlier. Now, right now, some of the heaviest snow with this particular storm system is taking place up near Riverton, Lander, and just off to the west of you in the Casper area, where there are winter storm warnings in effect. Now, they're expecting 30 to 40 mile per hour winds, and you can see up to, well, over a foot of snow is expected in the mountains there near the Green Mountains and the Rattlesnake Range out there to the west of Douglas, Wyoming. So that's on that and west of the I-25 corridor. In the Cheyenne area, you are not in the warning, but the mountains off to the west of you, if you get into the saddle right here on I-80, it goes through this little cutout in the mountains. The wind can be redonkulous in these areas, and the snowfall amounts are expected to be pretty lofty as well. The warning is in effect until Friday morning for this area. 50 mile per hour winds and over a foot of snow possible on the I-80 pass through the mountains in southern Wyoming. So keep that in mind. If you're driving truck or traveling through that area, you're going to run into some lofty snowfall totals. Now, National Weather Service, Boulder, Colorado was reviewing some model data last time I saw. I'm very curious to see some of the snowfall totals that they're expecting. I think they may have gone up. Let's take a look. 4 to 10 inches way out east, out by the airport. We're talking out by Byers out there. So 35 mile per hour winds, and this warning is in effect until Friday morning for difficult travel and ridiculous snow. Now, as you get closer to the mountains in Denver, so the eastern suburbs have lower potential for snow. We'll say that lower potential is 6 to 9 inches. But then as you get closer and closer to the mountains, that potential for snowfall amounts goes way up. And we're talking right in the metro area, 2 feet of snow in the western suburbs. So as you get up by Golden and up there by Red Rocks, if you know where that is, just in the foothills of the Colorado Rockies, right outside of Denver to the west, Boulder, even off in towards the Erie area, those folks are going to expect to see some significant snow. That's likely going to be the case for you folks up to the north in Fort Collins, Longmont, as well as Estes Park and Boulder. So let's go up in that neck of the woods. And the snowfall amounts are going to be 6 inches to a foot with up to 36 inches and 4 feet along the eastern slopes of the Front Range. 4 feet of snow. So we're getting up a little bit farther north where the upslope flow is going to be stronger and the impact of the moisture bands is going to be a little bit better. So that means yucky travel conditions on that I-25 corridor north-south from through Wyoming and into the Denver area all the way down to Colorado Springs and the southern Rockies of Colorado. There are also now winter storm warnings for the mountains of southern Utah as well. We'll take a quick look for you folks out there. 30 to 40 inches of snow in the Boulder Mountain chain. It looks like 45 mile per hour gusts out there all the way until noon on Saturday for that. So it's very active weather across the nation as we head into our Wednesday. The storms will continue Thursday. Again, there's another risk of severe storms tomorrow in the plains. I'll pop that up for you to see. A little bit different area now as we take a look at our day 2 forecast for severe weather. Check this out. We're talking Springfield, Missouri, all the way out. I have some viewers down here in the Pine Bluff area, as well, Poplar Bluff, as well as, well, you know, the whole travel area out here in the Ozarks of the southern Missouri and Arkansas border. Fayetteville, this area here, enhanced risk of severe storms, very, very large hail potential, and even some tornadoes along the area. This is going to be north and just off to the west of you in Little Rock, Memphis, and Pine Bluff as well. The yellow area, by the way, is a slight risk of severe weather, still a risk of an isolated tornado or two, but maybe a few more and stronger with larger hail potential from the storms that form in western and northern Arkansas and northwest Arkansas. So get up there towards Rogers, Fayetteville, Branson, Missouri, Springfield, Missouri, Joplin. You're right on this, well, ramp. Even a storm tonight out near the Tulsa area that has become severe as well, I see. All right, that is a look at your weather update. I'm meteorologist Hutch Johnson. I hope you've enjoyed and garnered some information from this. If you are in the active area of weather going on now in Colorado or Wyoming, make sure you have your weather information at your fingertips for the rapid changing situation. The forecast for these storms is going to be through around 1 a.m. They'll drift to the north and east, mainly into northwest Missouri. So if you're in Kirksville, you're in the watch as well, just down to the south of you. And there'll be some stout storms into the overnight that will still have a wind punch tonight. And they will still have a risk for some spin-ups of tornadoes until we get to around that midnight to 1 a.m. Then after that, we'll likely see this transition into what we call a straight line wind event, and the hail potential will still be quite large. So overnight storms, nocturnal storms will continue from this system as it works its way out, and it continues to the north and east, and it could even impact parts of southern Iowa tonight here as well, near Ottumwa and areas south of Des Moines. And look out Lincoln and the area around Omaha as well as these storms lift to the north. At the very least, a lot of heavy rain heading your way. I'm meteorologist Hutch Johnson. Thanks so much for your likes. Consider or appreciate you